Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson today, we're going to make, you can call it a motivation block. And you can do this on canvases, anything that can stand up like that. So I raided Joe's scrap box and I found these really nice end pieces that he was just going to throw in the garbage, and I really like what I've got here. What inspired me was this hole here. I thought I could put a rivet in here, but what I want to use this to get all this grain, because I want to see if I can get that to show through some of the piece. I don't know if it'll work, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But again, you can use anything for this. And I will punch in some holes to put, to make it, it's more like a country style type of block. And ideally is we're going to paint it, add some crackling, and then I'm going to put a stencil on here. This is called Motivation, Americana Stencil Motivation, and I'm going to grab the top part here. Okay, so for paints, okay, so I've got a few different things here. Because this is my first time doing this type of project, I always do a study piece first, and that's up to you whether or not. If I was working on canvas, it wouldn't be an issue. But ideally with raw wood like this, you want to make sure it's sanded, put a mask on, sand it, and then apply a layer of multi-purpose sealer to the piece. If you've got holes in there that you don't want visible, fill it with a wood filler, sand it, then put the sealer on top. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a mix. I'm using the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics because of the transparency. I'm going to make a chromatic black that leans slightly towards the blue side. That's what I want for my base coat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some different tones of gray and overlapping with a little bit of white to create a really rustic look to it. And I'm going to stencil using the Decor Matte Metallics, the Age of Bronze. So where I'm running into a bit of a challenge is that I need to make sure I've got enough contrast. So with the chromatic black that I'm going to be using here, that's going to be basically black on the gray side, then I have to tone it down to a white. I want to get something close to this Vintage Effect wash, this gray, but I want it more blue. Okay, and typically as well, just use something that's more blue. I don't have, so I'm going to have to make it. So that will be the base coat, and then I can put a layer of this on top, which will be a little bit lighter, and then a layer of the white. So it'll be kind of like, think of barn board that's been left outside to age, the stuff that you're spending hundreds of dollars for at decor stores. That's what we're recreating. If there's room, I don't think there will be. I was going to throw in some crackle paste in some of the corners, and then to see if I can get that in there. I'm not sure if that will fit. All right, so let's get moving. All right, so let me just grab my thing here. Now, if you wanted to make this using the actual, grab this. The Decor Designer finishes, they come in a set, and this is called Salt Wash Farmhouse. The only difference is I'm not using the Americana Gray Sky. I'm going to use this mixed paint here because the colors, they're a little too close together, but the set here includes texture sand, which I did not want to use in this. So I'm going to put out, okay, I'm going to need more than that. So about a quarter size of ultramarine blue, and this is the Media Fluid Acrylics, and then about half the size of burnt sienna. Okay, and then, oh, good Lord. Then on the side here, way on the side, roughly an equal amount of the white. That I think I'm going to need more of. And then I'm going to mix that. So off the top, it's going to give you a mixed color that's going to be similar to Payne's Gray. So chromatic black, where you're using more ultramarine blue versus burnt sienna, gives you something close to Payne's Gray. But if you use more burnt sienna versus ultramarine blue, you get something close to burnt umber. So I'm going to bring in some white just to see. Yep, it's perfect. Now I'm going to bring in that white here, and what I'm looking for is something that's much darker than that. I don't think I have enough. Actually, or should I do the contrast? Okay, let me think for a second. Hold on a second. Dark, dark, light, 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 dark, light, light, dark, light, light. I want to make it lighter. I want to make it lighter. This will not be enough, so let me make a little bit more. So I want to do a light base coat, where then the overlay will be a darker gray and then the white on top. I want to make sure that I've got enough contrast in there. A little bit of burnt sienna, and then equal the amount of white. Now, if you're new to color mixing, do these in separate piles and mix them up. I've been color mixing for what seems like to be dinosaur ages, so again with this, there's really no wrong way of doing it because we're working with gray tones, but the gray tone that I have is closer to blue. I could have taken, let me just grab it, I could have taken a gray sky and, you know, added a little bit of blue to it. I wanted the fluidity of the fluid acrylics. But the beauty with the Decor products is that they're all interchangeable, and you know what? It's all about experimenting. All right, so I'm just going to put that on there. Yeah, perfect, perfect, perfect. So I'm going to put this on here, and I'm not even worried about covering up the wood part in there. Remember, this is a rustic country style piece. It's been left outside for a long time. We're just repurposing it. And you can even stencil it on both sides. Because if you have it like this, then you can have the motivation pieces on both sides. If this bothers you, this unfinished raw wood here, fill it with wood filler and sand it. See, that's what I wanted, to be able to see that grain showing through. With the Americana acrylics, I don't think we would have gotten that. I'm going to pop rivets. If you don't have rivets, you can just glue buttons. If you find some wrought iron buttons, or if you have wooden buttons and just paint them with a metallic paint, that'll work. Oh, that might be a better idea. Let's just go here. For the record, doing home decor pieces like this is outside my comfort zone. I just go out and buy the stuff. I don't want to make it. It gets to a point sometimes where I'm just exhausted and I'm thinking, you know what? No. But what I like doing is, if I'm going to have something made by somebody, is I like making a sample piece and say, this is what I'm looking for. And then just commission a local artist to make it for me. You think, if I'm an artist, why am I paying other artists to do it for me? I don't do a lot of formal art anymore. I spend more time helping other creatives build their brands. And these videos here are just more of a way I relax, pay it forward. It's just more of a fun thing for me to do. And if you create art pieces based on what I'm showing in the videos and you decide to put them onto your website or sell them, send me a picture. I would love to, you know, promote your piece and, you know, showcase it on my Instagram feed or whatever. There we go. So I just did a rough coat, didn't do anything spectacular. Now on the sides though, I will, when it dries, I'll come in with another coat, and just to make sure that it's fully covered, but I want to make sure I still retain that grain. I don't want to lose that grain. But yeah, I'm going to put some rivets there, be something there. Don't forget, we're going to be covering some of this stuff up as well. All right, so that takes care of that. I'm going to put that brush in the water, and I'm going to grab, move my phone. I'm going to grab baby wipe. And this does not take long to dry at all. So now the next step is to apply a layer of the Vintage Effect gray on top. And we're going to, I'm going to put that everywhere. I'm just going to put it in some spots to build up a slight amount of contrast. You know what? I'm going to try something. So, okay, let me just show you what I'm thinking of. So the Vintage Effect, the Vintage Effect wash, the gray, it's basically, it's almost the same color. And so I'm not going to see much of it, and I'm thinking, but you know what? What if I could take this with the crackle paste and scrape it in some areas? I wonder if that would give me enough, give me enough. That looks about 20%. Just want it tinted. I wonder if that's going to be enough. So I'm experimenting with this one now. So you can tint this Decor Traditions Crackle Paste. I think it's 20%, 20% the Traditions, but it should still work with the Vintage Effect. Only because I had it here. I could have made some more of this stuff, but. And then from there I can put a layer of that on top and see how that works. I don't know how. I honestly have no idea what this is going to be like. Which is something I thought about spur of the moment. I really wanted some cracks in here. You have to make it thick enough though. Around there would be really cool. And I'm hoping that the stencil will still work. So once I put it on, I can't change it. I'm gonna put heavier on top. I have no idea if this is going to work. It's already starting to crack. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So, okay, so just to give you an idea of what I'm doing. So, what I'm thinking is when the cracks show through, I will then be able to come in with the Vintage Effect Wash Gray to put a wash of color over this. So this won't look white. It'll look like cracked gray. You know, like on barn boards and old barns, they're painted and the paint is peeling. That's the effect I'm going for. So I'll have to see. Let's see if I can find somewhere where it shows that it's cracking. I don't know if you can see that. I don't think you can see that. That's cracking already. But we'll see. And cracking, oh my god, you have to be patient and don't go back over it like I'm doing. I'm just getting rid of that lump there. Once you put it on, don't touch it. And you can't use a heat gun, you can't do anything like that. You have to let it dry naturally. So yeah, no, don't do as I do. Just cleaning that up. Okay, so come back and we'll see if this works. And you know what? If it doesn't work, what's the worst that can happen? I just sand it and start all over again. All right, so it's all dry. Let me see if I can get a close-up just to show you. And where else? We've got some happening here and some here. The top is quite visible. This one here looks gorgeous. I put too much paint there though. So on this back side, and the unfortunate thing is that this is the top. I guess if I would have done it this way, I could have, but I wanted to place the stencil in a way where I could put like either a rivet or something there. On this side, the stencil is fine. I'll be able to get all of this. But on this side, not so much, because it's going to be in the way. So I can move this over this way and stencil maybe this. But then I'll have to move it over to make the spacing even between here and here. This spacing is obviously going to be too wide. There's going to be a gap. The stencil really technically, well, I could probably, because the rivet's going to go right there. So I'll have to think about that one. But anyways, right now we need to apply, or I need to apply the, shake, 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 the Vintage Effect Wash the Gray. I'm not going to need a lot. Alright, so I'm going to do this with the bristle brush first, just to see what I'm going to get. Actually, let me do this at the top. Okay, I think that's too much water. I'm testing this right now. Okay, so yeah, so that is going to work. More paint than water. Okay, so let me just put that back in water, get a fresh brush, and just apply that on there. So you see how that just gets knocked right back, but we still have the crackles. And you can do this as many times as you want. Just going to wipe back some areas. There we go. And I'm just going to wipe back a little bit of excess there. And I'm going to need a bit more. So if you don't have the Vintage Effect Wash paints, try with the fluid acrylics and just go from there. I mean, these are beautifully transparent, but you can get, I've done videos on how to make your paints transparent without using water, so you can check that out. Oh, that is gorgeous. There we go. And just build it up as much as you want. Just with some old random piece of wood. And even here, I can turn around and just add a little bit of color, or just, you know, add a little bit of contrast there. Not everywhere. Make sure that doesn't fall. Yeah, that's the beauty with the Vintage Effects, that you're going to keep the grain. Dries fairly quickly as well. I know right now you can't see because I'm just trying to hold it. I'll show you in a sec after it's dry. Now, choosing the color for the stenciling, I just chose something that was high contrast. Let's leave that to dry for a sec. I just chose something in high contrast, which was the matte metallic, and I just used aged bronze. You can really use whatever you want. I wanted to use this because I'm thinking the rivet I'm going to put on the backside will probably be something closer to this or to black. So now the other thing that we can do with this now is we can distress some white as we go through here. So I'm going to dry this, and I can use a heat gun to dry this, and then we'll come in with the Vintage Effect Wash, the white, and we'll add some distress in there. So remember, we're making it look like the old barn board and the paint is peeling and all that stuff. That's the effect we're going for. Then once that's dry, then we'll do some stenciling. Come in now with the Vintage Effect White. I'm going to test it on top first. This is a very, very fluid paint. Oh, look at that. Yeah. I'm using a bristle brush to give it that real aged look, following the grain of the wood. Just making sure there's not too much paint on there. Now it is harder when it's a small brush. This would have been much better with a larger brush. I'm going to have to get a bigger brush. And I'm following the grain of the wood, which would make sense. Trying to keep it as straight as possible, which is why I have this on an angle. Okay. Let that dry, and I'll work on the back. Uh-oh. Amazon must be here. Okay, I may have to stop if she goes ballistic. I'm gonna make this one a little bit lighter because I want to see what happens with this. Again, this is just a sample. Remember, it's supposed to look like barn board. Oops, you know what? I forgot to do that. I'll have to repaint that over again. Okay. Now, I've seen barn board pieces like this. Was that Home Depot? Holy moly, that's expensive. So it's if you can nail down the effect, you can make your own. And you can do this on paper as well. You don't have to do it on wood. There we go. Let me just blend that out a little bit more. And then if you wanted to, you can layer on the gray again if you want. This is the primary side right here. You can layer on more of the gray. I love how it's picking up the edges of the wood. Oops, 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 oops. There we go. But my biggest tip right now would be a bristle brush. The bigger, the better. I'm may have to go down and steal some of Joe's brushes. Do you know what brush would work well? But you can't use it. I've got this big massive brush. It was a Bob Ross oil brush, the big initial gesso brush, I think is what it was called. That would be perfect for this. There we go. Oh, I love that. And the cracking is still there. Oh, beauty, beauty, beauty. So, you know what? I'm going to have to paint this anyways. I'm going to paint this white. I'm going to have to paint this anyways. Let me just see what it looks like with white instead. Whoopsie. I'm saying a lot of oopsies today. You know what's fun about doing this stuff is that it's all about experimenting. I don't have an actual end piece in mind other than I'm going to stencil, but it's more just playing and practicing. It takes all the pressure off. It takes all that pressure off. I don't think I'm going to have enough paint. Nope, 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 nope. Just have fun. And add some water. I'm thinking I'm going to like this better with the white and not the gray. The gray just seems a little bit dark. Again, you could have a different feeling for it, so that's completely up to you. But I love how the grain still shows through. Okay, I wish I could just turn this over right now, but I can't. I've got to let that dry. It's going to clean up the edges. Oh, God, I love this. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. Then when we come back, I'm going to stencil, which I'm now questioning if this is the right paint to be using. Nope, I'm going to stick with my original plan. Let's just see what happens. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. See how much darker it got? The white, because it's translucent, you can still see the cracks. Beautiful. I'm also thinking too, what we can do is once it's like, let it cure for a day and come in with some sandpaper just to clean up these. Oh, maybe I can do it with my hands. Clean up some of these edges. Just to just dress them just a little bit more. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Just going to use a little bit of tape. Looking, I can't really think. I do want to have it with a little bit of a metallic because it's an industrial. I could have chosen pewter. Yeah, let's stick with this. Okay, stencil brush and wipe off as much as possible. Circle, circle, circle. Clockwise, counterclockwise. Now I'm working really fast. Take your time when doing this. That way you're not gonna bust your stencil if you know, depending on what you're using, if there's got delicate pieces. Or I also would have taped this up too so I don't accidentally didn't stencil that. Oh, yeah, Amazon is next door. Okay, so if she goes ape crazy, if she goes ape, well, there's a bat poop crazy, I'll stop the video and go calm her down. I figured with the pandemic she would have been used to Amazon, but nope. I'm going to put just a little bit more in there. There we go. Ah, nice. All right, so off the bat, okay, the technique worked, but off the bat, where the crackle paste was, the stencil didn't quite have a full, even application. It raised up a little bit. Let me dry this so I can do the other side. But I think I'd like to do different words. Oh, how about I just do that? Oh, shoot, that stupid dot. Okay, if I... Oh, man. My God. It is just not cooperating. All right, if I were to put adventure here and just do be brave, life is good, or just put or how about we just do this? Okay, let me just center this. Okay, we'll wing that part. We'll wing that. So I'm just going to do life is good, adventure. Hopefully that'll be enough. Just for something different. And you really want to tape this off as well so you don't accidentally stencil that. Yeah. So now I can still put the rivet there. I could put this one here. Life is good, adventure. The enjoy would have been good with a dot there, but it won't fit. I could put explore right there. This dries really fast. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I'm gonna regret this. Because I didn't clean the stencil, so hopefully I'm not gonna get any other bits and bobs. Nope. Explore, life is good, adventure. I'd love to get the word enjoy in there, it's too big. And embrace. This one's tiny. This one is tiny. Oh, you're not gonna fit, you bugger. This is a lot more work for a sample than I would normally do. Okay, so let's just see what we can get here. tiny. Oh, I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay. Not quite enough paint, but because it was all crackled here, I wasn't sure if something was gonna happen. All right, so I've got, that's the main one, which I am loving. And then we have this one here. So what I have to do, there's a box right here of all my metals. I'm going to grab that and put something in there. I'm going to just put a screw there. And I can put something here and here. Okay, let me go raid my metal box. All right. That's too small. These are too big. That's a button, not really appropriate. No, and that stands out too much. It's just something to fill the hole. So, no, I'm not even going to go with the black. I'm going to use an eyelet. Okay, and the choice I have is either gold or copper. The copper is almost like a rose gold. What would have been cool is to use one of these metal gears, but it's too close to the D. I just need to be subtle. You know what? I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it. It takes away from it. And it's just a sample anyways. Yeah. So next time when I look at this, when I choose a piece of wood, I'm going to make sure that I choose a piece of wood that's going to be, you know, that's going to work with this. The other thing I could have done is just put a quote over here on the side. So I'm not going to bother with that. But there we go. So the only thing left to do now is to varnish it. Now with anytime you're doing something that is, oh, I just have to reach this. Anytime you're doing something that's old, distressed and worn, it's not usually glossy. It's usually a matte, ultra matte matte. I'm going to use the Decor Media Soft Touch Varnish because I always use the ultra matte. I just want to see what this one will do. I'm just going to give this a stir. This one I don't shake. My varnish brush is drying right now, so I'll just use this flat brush here and just going to put a layer of varnish. Now again, it's a sample piece. Normally I wouldn't varnish it, but I can use it for my office. And light, even coats is better than one thick coat. So even if you put like 5 thin coats, it's better than one big thick coat. Make sure you clean up the edges. And this will just help make it more durable, especially where the crackles are. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to finish that side, just so when it's dry, I can show you the differences in the actual finish. And the side here, I'll only do half, so you can see the difference in the finish. And just painted raw wood versus varnished. So when I varnish, I don't use the heat gun. I let it dry naturally. And with how hot it is right now, because we're going to be approaching another heat wave, this will probably take maybe 10 minutes. But if I was selling this, I would let it cure for at least 2 days before even packaging it. That's just the way that I do it. All right, so I'll be back in about 5 minutes. So one thing I forgot to mention is that when you're varnishing over metallic paint, depending on the finish, you're going to lose some of that shimmer. For this case, it doesn't really matter because this is an old piece, but you can, so take a look at that, okay, versus that. So we lost a little bit of the shimmer on this. Even though it is a matte metallic, it's still metallic paint. What I love though, I don't know if you can, let's see how I can do this so you can see. The crackle showing through the letters is really nice. But it's very soft. Where this is still a little bit rough, and this is very soft because of the soft touch varnish. Now for the sides, you can't really tell. So that's the varnish part. This is unvarnished, so you can't really tell. I can tell by the feel, but I can't get over that. It just feels like velvet. This here. So there we go, you guys. So there is another experiment to create a piece of old barn board look, an effective barn board, and just by creating a simple, motivation quote on it. Just, it's fine just to practice these types of techniques, but sometimes it's nice just to do something else on top, just to create something a little bit nicer. But now that'll just stand on my desk like that, and it'll look great. And yeah, I'm not gonna touch that. But again, like I said before, checking this now, if it was going to be an actual project, I would be much more selective on the wood, and I would probably just, get Joe to pick me up a 2x6 and then just paint the whole thing in one shot, then cut it and then finish the edges. And because this is something from a project that he took apart. So I hope that you enjoyed this and got some ideas. So I would like to know, are you a fan of barn board? And if you don't know what barn board is, go to Google, look it up, and take a look at the, what it is, and let me know if you're a fan of that. And if you are, what are some of the things that you could envision being in your home that's made of barn board, whether it's actual barn board or whether you DIY it yourself and, even upcycling something you found at the thrift store. So comment below, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, stay inspired.